In the near future, humanity makes excessive and unethical use of natural resources and has to deal with a new pandemic every year. This kills billions of people and causes them to start seeing life as a curse. One day, a scientist known as the Pilot makes a genetic discovery that can turn humans immortal, which brings hope back to humanity. It doesn't take long for Pilot to put his discovery to practical use and the remainder of the human race transforms into eternal beings. 200 years later, the system of immortality has changed everything. Now only a select group of people who live inside a domed city get a chance to go through a process called the freeze, which makes them immortal. Pilot runs the entire city and has hundreds of employees working for him to maintain order, but he also appears on screens all over the city to promote his message. At a young age, people are brought to the domed area and are evaluated by Pilot himself, who pinpoints the moment in their life when they are at their peak and then they get the freeze. Usually this peak is around age 25, but it can vary from person to person. That's why the domed city is filled with both immortals and people looking to be chosen for immortality. All these things are explained by Ake, who works as a tour guide that takes newbies around the city to explain to them all the wonderful things Pilot has done for humanity, like putting a stop to war, political divide, and poverty. Meanwhile, a boy named Logos is on a train that is taking him into the city alongside multiple people that are excited about their upcoming transformation. However, Logos isn't as excited as them. He doubts that humans need immortality because without death there is no living, there is just existing. Logos works as a terraformer, meaning he goes out to the desert to set up machines. This often causes him to have nightmares in which he dies right before his co-workers get to him. On his second day in the city, Logos is approached by Suker, who has sensed that he has been questioning immortality and is here to invite him to a group made of more people like him. She hands him a box that is supposed to take him to said group without being tracked, unaware that Pilot and his right-hand man Armoros are watching them through the surveillance footage. When they see the box, they immediately find it suspicious and Pilot asks Armoros to find out what that box is. Afterward, Ake is approached by Armoros, who gives her a special headband that allows her to meet Pilot virtually. It turns out Pilot wants Ake to spy on Logos to find out what he is up to, and if she is successful in this mission, she will be promoted. Ake gladly accepts the mission, eager to please Pilot. Sometime later, Logos uses the box in the privacy of his room and a mysterious voice comes out of the little device to arrange a meeting with him. When Suker and Logos meet again, Ake pretends to be just a random passerby in order to eavesdrop on them. However, Suker can tell they are being spied on, so she talks to Logos in code and tells him to come to the church later, making it sound like just two friends spending time together. Ake falls for the trick and reports that she didn't hear anything suspicious, but Pilot refuses to believe it, so he orders for them to continue to spy on Logos. To help Ake understand what's going on, Armoros shares a bit of history with her. The Pilot used to work with a guy named Helios, who developed a virus to destroy the Immortality code. Helios was rehabilitated and his mind was wiped clean, but Pilot fears that his ideas remained and someone dangerous may be using them, so that's why they need to keep an eye on anything suspicious. To achieve her mission, Ake will have to be closer to Logos, so the next time she takes the train she sits next to him on purpose to chat with him. She opens conversation by commenting on the book he is reading, which immediately triggers a discussion about immortality and its merits. Logos asks her if she believes the things she tells her students, which makes Ake realize that she doesn't really have an answer. The next day, Ake asks a pair of twin sisters from her student group to help her keep an eye on Logos while she is not around. Meanwhile, Logos goes to the church and meets with Suker. After making sure that nobody has followed him, he is allowed inside their secret headquarters and meets other members of the group like the scientist Madoran. Everyone here hates the system just like Logos and doesn't trust Pilot's methods. It is then revealed that people are given a dosage of medicine named maintenance every day to supposedly keep up with the freezing process. However, the group has discovered that this medicine actually makes them submissive and suppresses human emotions and instincts. It means they can't love or hate, and it makes them incapable of protesting against things they dislike. It is almost as if they are bred to become Pilot's slaves. Everyone who takes maintenance behaves the same except for Logos, who for some reason seems to be immune. This explains why he has thoughts outside of the benefits of immortality. Madoran has also found a diary written by Helios with some valuable information, and now she's replicating the virus that will overturn immortality. The group's primary goal is to make people realize that they can feel emotions and make them protest against the system to hopefully end Pilot's rule. Meanwhile, Pilot is playing chess with his teen daughter Amanda, who wants to know more about Pilot's Helios and the creation of the Immortality Code. In fact, Amanda has lots of questions in general her father's system that nobody else is allowed to ask, which makes her very similar to Logos and his new group. This is starting to bother Pilot. Later that night, once again Logos has a nightmare of him passing out in the middle of the desert, which makes him more curious about death. When he wakes up, he isn't sure if he should take maintenance or not. Later on the train, he's approached by Ake again, and she goes all out on trying to become close friends with Logos by pretending she knows how he feels. Soon the subject of taking maintenance comes up, but neither of them confesses if they take it or not. Sometime later, the rebel group gets together to make a plan to disturb the flow of maintenance by changing the code, which can be done from the Capitol building. However, in order to recode they need access to the underground tunnels of the Capitol building. Logos remembers that Ake works in the capital and she has access to areas that aren't open to the general public, so he goes to meet her while she's in the middle of a tour. Logos tells her that he does take his maintenance and asks about hers, but before Ake can reply, they're interrupted by the twins. Ake rushes back to work and Logos asks the twins about their special bond, which could be lost if Pilot chooses only one of them to make immortal. However, the twins think Pilot would never do that to them. Afterward, Armoros asks Ake what Logos was talking about, but she lies to him and claims that he just came to say hi. Logos' question is stuck in her mind for the rest of the day and Ake begins wondering what it would feel like not to take maintenance. When she finally meets with Logos again, he sees the doubt in her eyes and trusts her enough to bring her to the rest of the group. Ake gets to learn about their plan and see the diffuser prototype Helios built to destroy the code, which Madoran is trying to finish. When the group asks Ake for her help to access the maintenance supply, she is given some time to think it over. In the meantime, Pilot is chatting with Amanda again, and she wants to know what was like when her dad lost her mother. Pilot explains that it had been devastating and reveals that one time Amanda had been close to death, that had been the reason he and Helios worked hard to create the genetic coding method. He also says Helios had been jealous that Pilot got all the credit, which caused a rift in their friendship. At that moment Amanda realizes that the last part changes every time Pilot tells her the story. Back to Ake, she goes to Armoros to tell him everything she knows, and Armoros orders her to agree to help as part of her spying mission. Then Ake meets with the rebel and accepts to help them. They create an elaborate plan and assign specific tasks to each group member, then they take off to the main building. Ake takes them through some old walkways that aren't used anymore, but when she scans her eye on the lock, it doesn't work. The group splits up to run away and Logos and Ake take off on their own, only to find their way blocked by Armoros because this had been part of his plan all along. Afterward, Logos is taken to a medical facility, where the doctors perform a complete memory wipe on him. Ake argues with Armoros because he tricked her and now her friend is hurt, but Armoros says it's for the greater good. When she asks Pilot to see Logos so she can apologize, she's forbidden to do so because her presence might trigger some memories in him. When she goes home, Ake decides not to take the maintenance. Meanwhile, Logos is living a robot-like routine without feelings because he has been given a heavier dosage of maintenance. Sometime later, the twins find Ake to tell her where to find Logos. A desperate Ake rushes to meet him, but Logos doesn't recognize her and just ignores her. Ake decides to try again later and goes as far as kissing Logos to make him react, but once again Logos ignores her and leaves. Desperate to fix things, Ake uses Logos' box to arrange a meeting with the rebels. The group refuses to help her after what she did, but Ake shows up at the church anyway and confesses she isn't taking maintenance anymore, which earns her the group's trust again. With Ake's intel, the rebel group soon kidnaps Logos and deletes his data from the system. Pilot quickly finds out about the disappearance and Ake's involvement in it, so he sends Armoros after them. Meanwhile, Logos and Ake spend a few hours chatting, which allows Logos to finally start getting glimpses of his past memories. By the time night falls, Logos is back to being himself. With Logos back, the rebels go back to work on their plan to hack and reprogram the maintenance system, but since Ake isn't a member of the capital anymore, they'll find to have an alternative. Ake decides to ask for help from the twins and the risk pays out. They gain access to the underground facility and therefore the main computer. The group wastes no time in changing and overriding the program, successfully achieving their goal. Meanwhile, Armoros finds the rebel headquarters, where they find only one remaining rebel to arrest. Afterward, the rebel group escapes from the city and they take shelter in the mountains, where they survive by building tents. That night, they receive news that the captured rebel unfortunately has been wiped clean. Later, the group discusses what their next step will be, and Logos wants to try to use the diffuser to prove mortality is the better option. However, Madoran warns him it's a prototype and the process could kill him. Ake is upset by this and Logos tries to explain to her that he doesn't want to die, he just wants to know what living truly is like. When nobody is looking, Logos puts on the diffuser, instantly passing out. Ake finds him and yells to help, so Madoran rushes to help him just in time. Ake spends her day watching over him, and when Logos finally regains consciousness, Ake is so relieved to see him well that she finally admits that she likes him. Then both of them share that they see everything clearer now. Sometime later, Pilot is doing his daily appearance on the city screens, only for the steam to suddenly be hacked by the rebels. People gather in the streets and hear Logos tell them about Pilot's control through maintenance and ask them to think freely at least once, promising that everything will be crystal clear then because that's how he feels now that he's mortal. Without having proper emotions, people don't know how to react. Amanda wonders if all citizens could become like Logos, but Pilot assures her Logos is just a very rare anomaly that talks about fairy tales. Armoros thinks they should stop the rebels, but Pilot isn't worried because he thinks his system is too perfect to be stopped. Suddenly Ake appears on the screen too and puts on the diffuser to support their message, becoming mortal right there for everyone to see. While the couple shares a kiss, suddenly Amanda appears on the screen too and reveals that before dying, Helios stored his cerebral data in a hard drive, which has been downloaded into her brain. That means she is technically Helios and therefore the key to returning humans to their natural form, so the rebels' new mission is to find her. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.